I had a few questions and people says, gee, it'd be nice if I had a video on how to do some of this stuff. Well, let me play a game and see if it works. So what I've got here is a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, which will kind of go through some of the activities there, and a database. I chose one that happens to be the apply-friendly one that's been used in created Module 1, and we'll use it in Module 2. Now, whether I can do everything with that database that's in the PowerPoint presentation, we shall see. So, let's go through and see what we can do. So, the objective of this section is basically on queries. So, you're going to understand how to create them, how to include fields in queries, how to use text and numeric data, how to save a query, creating and use parameters, sorting data, how to join tables in queries, how to create a report, form, export the data, perform calculations, cross-tab queries, which are kind of unusual, and maybe how to customize your navigation for pane if you so choose to. So let's take a look at it. The basic structure of this is going to be probably about 10 slides or so on how to create queries, how to put criteria, how to sort them, joining tables, blah, 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 blah. So let's just kind of go through and say, okay, let's see how to create queries. So now they're saying here, click the shutter bar, open and close. Well, this is the shutter bar here. So I can open, if it happened to be this way in the navigation plane, I can open it. And what I've got here is now it says I need to create. So we go up here to the Create tab, go to the Create tab, and now last week you did the Query Wizard. Well, now I want you to do Query Design. So click the Queries Design, and a whole bunch of stuff showed up. Let's just close a few things here. So now I've got Query 1 and Query Design, and it says, now I got to say which tables am I going to add. I got to make, I think I need to get rid of, So, okay. I think I was playing games with this earlier. That's where that query 1, I must have saved it. So basically what you do, you hit the Create tab. Once you hit the Create tab, now you got to decide which table are you going to use. Well, I'm going to use the client. We had 2 tables. We had client and supervisor. I think we can do enough of the stuff with the client table, so I'm going to add the client table. Whoops, close. I think I added it twice. So let's remove that table. And then I can adjust the size so I can see all the fields. So you just drag and drop, just kind of slide down and move. And all I did was highlight it till the cursor changed, and then held down the left mouse button and then move the mouse to adjust the size. So now I've added it, then closed it, and then drag that. So I've got my table, that's the table, and I've adjusted the size so I can see. So I'm going to get rid of query 2, so I don't, there's query 1 there so I don't get confused. And let's look at, now this is just PowerPoint showing you where I went to. So I went to Query Design, Navigation Table, Query Design, and then added the table. Now, I've got a query, I got to say which fields am I going to put in the query. Well, there's a couple of ways to do this, as we found with anything with Microsoft. You get a couple of ways to do it. One, I can double-click, and it adds it to the field. Or I can go to a blank field, click into it, and all of a sudden you get the drop-down box. And it says, okay, I got the client name. Maybe I want the amount paid, and I want the amount due for something there. So that would give me a query that says, show me the client name, but only show me this. So let's take a look. Because the current table, client table, looks like this. It's got a lot of other data that we've chosen not to place. So I've got query 2. I've asked for the client name, the amount paid, the current due, And let's take a look at what the datasheet view is. And voila. As you can tell, it's only displaying the fields that I've asked for. So I'm going to go back to the design view so I can play some other games as we go on. So that's how you add fields to feed. Now, I want to add text data. So now I want to get down to, the criterion row. So down here you see the criterion row here. And we're going to want to be only saying, I want to add text. So when it's saying add text, I'm saying I want to look at something here that only matches one thing. So in this case, I'm going to choose AZ Auto because that's easy to remember. Criteria, I'm going to do AZ Auto. And once you hit enter, it now says, it puts the quotes around it. And now if I look at the datasheet view, it only shows me AZ Auto. It doesn't show me anything else. All this other stuff that we'd showed just a second ago allows you just to say, show me everything with just that. So let's go back to the design view. And let's see what the next thing is. Use wildcard. So what happens if I had, so the wildcard says, match anything in that position. So let's see, let's take a look at the client and see if we have something here. So let's look at what fields. We've got our current query says we're going to show amount paid. Let's see. Let's look at, we've got two clients with letter A. So let's do this. So I want to change this to A asterisk. So the first letter's got to match, and then everything else is available. So now let's go take a look at the datasheet view, and now I've got both access to just the two that begin with A. All right, let's look where the next thing. Now, what happens if I want to find a query that's really not included in the results? And basically, all I want to do is look for a specific topic. So let's say I want to look for, let's get back under the design view, and I want to, let's add, let's see, what do we got? Let's add the city. But I don't want to, I don't really want to show it, but I want to display only criteria that are in an area. So I've got the city in here, so let's take a look at what's potential city. Let's see, Caddy, C-A-D-D-Y. So I'm going to copy so I don't have to type it. I'm going to do this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a criteria. Now, I don't want it displayed, but I'm going to put Caddy right in that paste. And hit enter, and you see it put quotes around it for you automatically. And now if we check the database sheet and see, I should have Atlas Repair. And let's see, look at client, Atlas Repair. It is in the city of Katy. So that allows me to listen to only, just that piece. So it just says match that piece. So now let's see what else it says here. Let's look at a parameter. So now I want to prompt for a query. So let's go back in the design view, and instead of this, what we'll do is, I don't want to display it, but I want to put it in quotes. Enter city. And then go from there. Now let's see. So when I run the query here, it now prompts me for what city am I looking for. So it allows me to set a parameter. So let's see if I think I still got Katy in there. So hit that, hit OK, and now I get the result of the previous query. So So if I wanted a prompt for it, you can use that parameter or not. So now what happens if I want to use a number? So we're going to go to the design query, go back to the design view. What it's asking here, click query design, it says, oh, to create a new query. Okay, so let's go back here and let's go back. I want to create. It says I want to create a query design. I'm going to select, I'm going to stay with the client table. And then here I'm going to edit. I'm going to close the dialog box. Close that. Adjust this field so I can see what I'm looking at. Oops, going a little further. And now I want to add criteria. So since I'm looking for numeric criteria, so I want to want the name, and I want amount paid and amount due. That gives us a couple of numeric. So that gives me that. Now to add a numeric value, so criteria is what happens if, let's look at client, let's look at numeric value here. Let's see, 500. That looks like it's there a couple times. Numeric value, and we'll type in 500. Hit enter, and let's look at the access, the datasheet view. And now it showed me only the ones that are valued had client due 500. So it gives me a way of creating, just looking for a particular number just by entering a particular number. If I wanted to use a comparative value, you could do the same thing. Go back to the design view, and let's see here, I want to greater than 500. And let's run our query. And now any current due value that was greater than 500 will show up. So you can see you've got a lot of flexibility as far as what you can look for, what you need to put in a query. Now, if you had to have compound criteria, so there's multiple things you want to query on. So let's go back to the design view. Now, you see this word or here. So now if I can say amount paid is maybe less than, let's see, let's pick a nice value here. Less than $10,000. So let's go back here. So less than 10,000 paid and greater than 500. Well, will we have anybody greater than 500? So less than 10,000 paid and greater than, yeah, it looks like we'll have a couple that may fall in that category. So I'm going to ask, so this is, and both of these, since it's on the same row, has to match that criteria. So now let's look at the datasheet view, and now I have amount paid that are greater than 5,000, amount due, less than 10,000, and then greater than 500 owed. So put them on the same row is an and condition. Now if I wanted to have it to be or, go back to the design sheet, you see the word here, or? Now it just says, let me cut that one and paste it here. And now it's going to be, I've got current due is greater than 500 or the amount paid is less than 10,000. And then run the query, and now I get a different list of data showing that. So I can mix and match and put compound criteria in. Now what happens if I want to sort the data? So let's take a look at query 1. Let's get back in the design view. And just above, it says just above the column header in the first row, first column in the grid, so I can, and let me get my piece here, So now it's going to say, this is actually clearing the design grid. So I got 3 things already in my design grid, right? So I go above here, see how the arrow changes the black arrow? You click that, and now if I shift and then go to the end, all of them are highlighted, and then I hit the delete button, and I've just cleared my queries, that design grid. So that shows you how to clear it. Now, let's see if we can sort the data in a query. So we're going to open the query in design view, which is where we're at right now. And now I'm going to click the sort field, below a field you wish to sort. Now, I need to have a field, so let's do this. And now I got a sort field, client name, and now I've got multiple choices: ascending, descending. It's not sorted. So I've chosen that. And if I run my query, you now see the one thing sorted alphabetically. So that's a way of sorting your data. Now, what happens if I have duplicates in my table? So let's open us in design view. And now I want to, it says I need to find an empty field in the design grid. So we're going to slide over here, and we're going to open up properties here. And now you get the property sheet opens up. And now we'll look at the unique values property box. The unique values property box is right here. And if I click on no, I've got a choice, drop down area, yes and no. So in this case, I'm going to say yes. I want only unique values, close it, run my query, and now I've got a list. You go like, well, wait a minute. They look like the same list we've always looked at. Well, let's look at the client table here, and you'll notice, let me slide over where I can see it, I had 2 prim staffing records that were totally duplicate. The only thing that was different was the primary key. Now, if you tried to do a total copy of a record and paste it in with the same primary key, you'd get an error. So I've got 2 different records, 2 identical records, content database, but different primary keys. And that's what this query now gives us, is just showing us only 1 prim staffing and not 2. So that's just a way of getting rid of duplicates. Now, sorting on multiple keys. So let's open the design view. And let's see, let's sort on client name, and let's do city in there. But now I can sort ascending on multiple fields. So I could also put city and descending, and then run it and see. So now I can get different values for that. And that didn't quite do what I was hoping it would do. Let's take a look at design view. Let's see if that made a difference. Nope, it didn't. Back to the design view. Open the value, select the sort column for multiple fields. Let's see what happens if I do it that way. What does it give me? Looks identical. Well, that's what you're supposed to be able to do. Prim that one, prim percent. Of course, this is where you can say, hey, I can sort the cities alphabetically. And this is where you see that you can sort your data multiple different ways. Sort of made A Z. So, multiple ways of doing it in Excel if I was trying to do this. So, now, let's look at joining tables. So now, I got to get back into query design. I've got a couple of tables there. So now it's going to say query design creates, I'm joining tables, so I'm going to click the queries design, 2 related tables to form a new query. So I'm going to do, actually we only got 2 tables, so I'm going to do them both, and click add, and then close. And now you see I've got 2 tables, and they have linked, they are now joined together. So if I query information, I can go, you can kind of play games with both fields. Now, if I want to change the properties of this, if I would right-click this join arrow here, this arrow connecting the 2 tables, you right-click this and click Join Properties. Join Properties, and now it tells you this is how you can how you can change how the 2 tables are joined together, whether you're including all the records or some of the records. So, get you a chance to play with that. Now, how about if I create a query using this join table? So in this case, open the navigation page, click the report. This is a report from a query. So in this case, let's see, I don't need query 3. Let's open query 1. That's the one we've been playing with. And now I want to create. And now I want to do what? I want to do the report wizard. Form wizard, more forms. If you look at this little icon right here, you see this report wizard way off to, now basically I've got the screen kind of shrunk a little bit so it's hiding things, but you're looking for something like that. So you click the report wizard. Whoops, I guess I should save that first. So let's save the table. I'll just call it query 1. Now I'll go back to the report wizard. And now it says, which tables do I want to use? Which are add desired fields available? Maybe I just want the city. Who knows? I'll keep it in, do the city, descending. We'll keep it, let's make a column. Make a table. Go through there, let's preview the report. And there's a report. Very basic report, but you understand at least where things are located, where they're located and how to generate a report. Now, create a form from a query. So let's go back to my query 1. So I've got this. Now I want to create, and I want to do a form, right? So now I want to create the form. So, and boom. It doesn't take a lot to generate whatever fields we had in that query now end up being in a form. So that's fairly simplistic. Now, exporting data. So let's go back to our query 1. And I want to look at it says, gee, I want to click the Excel button. It says, where's the Excel button? Well, I'm looking for external data. Is what I'm doing. I'm going to export this, exporting data so externally, so going someplace else. And here you can see I can export my query to Excel, to XML, a PDF. So it's pretty much, you can, if I click Excel, it'll now say, okay, what's the file name, what format? I mean, you could change different formats, based on age of what you have. Do I want to export, with formatting? Do I want to open the destination? So you've got a lot of different options. And then what's cool is I can only, if I want to select only selected records, hit OK. I don't think I asked it to open Excel, but we'll find out in a second. But that's basically the format to export data to other applications. So let's look at adding criteria to a join criteria. And actually, it's not even, so we just did a join, open a query that contained the join. Let's see which one had join. Okay. Had the join. And if I'll just drop down and say, I want to do the client name, and I want it to be supervisor city. But now now all it is changing the name here. So let's see, what do we have? We had Katie. Let's just see what happens here. Let's get back to and then see what the view is. And now you see only the cities with Katie in it. So the same way that you add criteria on a previous Excel or a query, but unless you do this. Calculations. Let's go back to our query one. Let's get, it's got to say, now I got to go, got to find, let's get back to the design view. I've got to make sure I've got some kind of field that I can do calculations. So what do we have here? We can, let's change. I don't want to really sort these anymore. Not sorted. But I want to pick something I can do something with arithmetic, mathematically. And let's do this. So now I got a couple of fields that I'm going to show, but now I want to, do a calculation, because these two things tell me, okay, what? They paid some money, they got some money due, but what happens if I want to do, maybe what's the total? So now I'd click on a blank field, and then if you right-click that field, you want to put the totals button. Actually, I'm not sure I need to do the totals button. But I can put this, I want to go to the zoom dialog box. And here I want to say, gee, what do I want to display? Well, I want to do total. And then the format of this is, that'll be the title of this, separated by a colon, and then the fields you want. So I got amount, AMO, amount paid, colon, plus current due, and close. So now I've got two fields. I'm adding those together. So the titles, it's going to be called total, and amount paid and current due are the two I'm going to add together. So I hit the OK button, and you see that formula here. So let's run the query. And now all of a sudden you see, okay, here's the city name, city street, amount paid, current due. That came straight out of our client database. And now I've got a calculation of the total of the amount paid and the current due. So let's look at changing the caption. I think you've already changed caption before in the priority sheet, but let's try that again. So let's go back here. Let's go to the design view. So now what am I going to do? I've got to go to a field that I want to add the caption to. Let's go here. Go to properties. And now you've got a caption field. So you can change the caption field. So let's take a look at the next one. Calculation of statistics. Now, here it says, allow me to create, so let me close these. So I got a couple things I can play games with. So let's say I want to, I got to make sure I can, all the tools that allow me to do totals. Here's like, okay, I've got here, highlighted that column. Now I want to make sure I add totals. Now I think you could have added it here, and all of a sudden you get a total line. You could have done it up here and got the total lines added. So a couple of different ways. Now it added this totals line, so it's still got the table identified. Now it's got my totals, and now it's got, and now it says, what do I want to do with it? So if I click in there, and now I've got a whole lot of options that you can play with. So let's say I want the sum in the amount paid. See, I don't need to display the total, and I don't need. So let's see what it does. And now you've got the sum. Now granted, sum of what, but it does give me that option. So it did change the title to sum. So if I wanted to, let's go back to the design view. Oops, I just took that off. Let's put totals in. And I want to I don't need the properties here. What am I trying to do here? Wrong thing. Yeah, let's go to the next one here. Let's look at statistics. Total row for the desired column. So I want the statistics here. And here there's one expression called where. Now, it says, okay, where, and in the criteria, so I want the amount paid, and let's see, what do I want the criteria to be? Oops. I want the criteria. Let's take a look at this. 5,400. Let's see. And let's see what the view says. And nothing matches that query. But as you can tell, I could change the statistics. I can do the total. Just didn't pick a number in the criteria that made sense. I don't want this video to turn in too long. Here you can do the same thing by group. I can group them by average. I can group them by, and all it is one more pull down box, so it's not too bad. Crosstabs. Let's take a look at create a crosstab query. So I'm going to go to create. Now it says query wizard. Okay. But see, now I've got one of the options you got is a crosstab query. So in this case, now you're just going to identify the tables, the fields. So you want both tables maybe, and just follow the fields that you want in the query. And now you're going to say, okay, since it's a cross table, now I got to say I've got two different tables I'm playing with, so I want to do street. And yeah, let's do last name. And then we can view the figure. So it just kind of now gives you different fields, postal codes. So just now taking two tables, different data, lets you kind of cross-check things between two different tables. Customizing your navigation tab. I think you can open, this is your navigation tab off to the left. You can open it. You can close it. You can define which objects you want. Customize it, object type, tables, date created, so you can pick and choose how you want things displayed. So hopefully this 30 minutes isn't too boring, and hopefully it helps. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.